give you a sampling of the mechanics of how influence and power works, not just in FIFA, but in the international system generally, how powerful people get what they want. We'll never know for certain because this vote was secret, but we know Qatar got 14 of these guys, and I think I have a pretty good idea of how for most of them. We're gonna start with this guy. This is Mohammed bin Hammam. He's one of the executive committee members, and he's from Qatar, okay? We can safely assume that he probably voted for his own country. But more importantly, it was him, a big-wig international football guy, who helped pull the strings on everyone else on this web. Starting with this guy. Jack Warner. He's an executive committee member from Trinidad and Tobago. Leaked emails and bank records obtained by the Sunday Times revealed that before the vote, bin Hammam deposited $450,000 directly into Warner's account, and later even more, totaling $1.6 million. Just like literally, like he just paid him. Like this is the simplest version. Just like I will pay you money to give so you do what I want you to. It's just like so straightforward. No wonder, a month after the vote, in an email, Warner called his Qatari colleague bin Hammam, quote, "the only brother I have in football." Okay, one guy down. Who else? Next, we have the 3 executive committee members from the South American Confederation. The US Department of Justice has gotten involved with these guys. They recently released an unsealed indictment against all 3 of them, alleging that these 3 were, quote, offered and received bribes in exchange for their votes. I mean, it's pretty unsatisfying. We don't have the evidence that the DOJ is using for this case, but they're building a case. Oh, and by the way, 2 of these guys just died in like the past couple of years. Next up, we've got these 3 guys from the Africa Confederation. A year before the vote, the African Confederation was having their annual meeting in Angola, which, by the way, was paid for by the Qatar bid team, the people who were like trying to convince people to vote for the World Cup. They paid for the whole thing. Okay, I get it. Trying to like lobby for your team, that's fine. But here's where it gets shady. While they were at this meeting, the Qatar bid team met with these 3 executive committee members. And according to a former employee who was in the room translating, the Qataris offered $1.5 million each to these guys in exchange for their promise that they would vote for Qatar. A year later, this employee turned whistleblower actually went back on her statement, saying that she actually lied about it and that there were no bribes. Kind of fishy. What's your incentive to lie? But then the FBI showed up at her front door and she admitted that she was pressured to say that she had lied about it and that actually the bribes happened. I don't know, man. We don't like, I side with the whistleblower. You can decide how you feel. And now her life is basically ruined. She said in an interview that, quote,
"I will always look over my shoulder for the rest of my life."
Oh, okay, and while we're talking about this, one of those 3 guys that apparently got $1.5 million was later filmed by undercover reporters negotiating an $800,000 bribe in exchange for his vote. Like smoking gun evidence. Same thing happened to this guy, the executive committee member from the Oceania region. And they actually got disqualified from voting. So these 2 guys didn't actually vote. So we're now down to 22 EXCO members. Let's keep going. Okay, so we've gone over the instances where there was direct money given in exchange for the promise to vote. The next phase of the story are more subtle versions of influence. Less overt, less smoking gun-ish. Like this guy from Thailand. He's the executive committee member from Thailand. 4 months before the vote, Thailand and Qatar were renegotiating an energy deal. Thailand was trying to get a better price for their natural gas, something Qatar has a lot of. But for some reason, this guy, a FIFA executive committee voting member, was at the meeting. Wait, what? Why is this football guy in the room while there's these big gas negotiations going on? Yes, I'm being coy. We know where this is going. I mean, you gotta read these leaked emails. They're so juicy. You've got a FIFA guy emailing a Qatar gas guy from Qatar Petroleum. They're talking about the development of their 2 football associations from their different countries, and then saying that they're gonna liaise with the CEO of the gas company to follow up about a liquid natural gas sale. I mean, it's just so clear what's going on here. Favorable terms of the deal in exchange for, hey dude, make sure to vote for our country. Oh, and who was this meeting between the gas guy and the FIFA guy arranged by? You guessed it, this guy, Mohammed bin Hammam, the committee member from Qatar, who's pulling all these strings. Oh, by the way, just a little side note here. Going through these leaked emails, I couldn't help but notice that the FIFA guy's email was sourpiggy at redacted. Sour Piggy? Sour Piggy. Sour Piggy's doing a lot of corruption lately. Okay.
I'm cutting, dude. You hurt me.
Oh, shit. Okay. Okay, and then there's a few just like sort of circumstantial ones that give you a flavor of how this works. Like this guy who sold his family's land to Qatar a year after the vote for 27 million pounds, which was like way over asking price. And this executive committee member whose son was given a job at a private Qatari hospital shortly after the World Cup vote. Both of these guys, of course, like everyone else on this list, denies any connection that this was influence. But now we're at the most significant moment in all of this, the thing that really tipped the scales for the vote. And it has to do with this confederation, the most powerful, the European Confederation. Specifically this guy, Michel Platini, a former French football player turned FIFA guy. He was the president of this confederation, which inevitably meant that he has sway over these other dudes. Just 1 week before the vote, like crunch time, Platini got an invitation that he couldn't refuse. A luncheon with the French president at his palace. Platini later said that before this meeting, he was planning on voting for the US to host the World Cup in 2022. But he goes to this luncheon, and who else is there? No big deal, just these two guys, the most powerful dudes in Qatar. One of them the Prime Minister of Qatar, and the other the current Emir of Qatar, from like the old dynasty family. It's important to remember the context here, like what's happening. This is 2010. The world has just been rattled by a global financial meltdown. And the president of France, Sarkozy, is stressed. And he's in the room with the leaders of Qatar who are not nearly in the same financial trouble. See the section before about unlimited amounts of money thanks to fossil fuels. And it's clear that these Qataris want something that the Frenchmen in the room can deliver them. A vote for their country to host the World Cup, something they really want. According to sources close to this meeting, Sarkozy flat out told Platini to vote for Qatar. Why? Well, we'll never know. But it's clear that he wanted a few things from Qatar. In this same meeting, Sarkozy told the Qataris that he wanted Qatar to buy the French football team Paris Saint-Germain, which happens to be Sarkozy's favorite football team, and at the time was in financial ruin. After this meeting, a few important things happened. Number one, Qatar did end up buying that football team for 60 million pounds, just like Sarkozy wanted. They turned it around, and soon it became a star-studded team with merch that's worn by the world's most popular celebrities. And then we suddenly see an uptick in big trade deals between Qatar and France. Qatar Airways buys 50 giant planes from Airbus, the giant French airplane maker. I mean, if you look at what one of these planes cost in 2010, times it by 50, we're looking at $18 billion, a massive deal. And in the end, Platini in this room, with his president telling him to do what the Qataris want, we need them right now. And it worked. Michel Platini flipped his vote from the USA to Qatar. He admitted it later, that's not even speculation. The president of the executive committee, Sepp Blatter, was pissed about this and later said that this was the defining moment for Qatar winning.
They have influenced Michel Platini at that time to vote for Qatar.
Because remember, Platini then went back to his European Confederation with 8 executive committee members, 8 votes, and he almost certainly influenced others to join him. One book I read claims that he took 4 votes with him, but we'll never know. And then, on a cold day in December of 2010, the day of the vote came.
The 2022 FIFA World Cup.
So on that fateful day in the winter of 2010 in Zurich, all the guests arrive because it was voting day.
On every call in America.
Clearly, I think we had an absolutely fantastic bid.
Well, we got a great bid, so we just got to go in there and give it everything that we've got.
These 22 men cast their votes in multiple rounds until a majority victor emerged. At least 11 of them voted from Qatar since round 1. And finally, 14 votes were delivered to Qatar, a majority and almost double what the USA got. So yeah, that's how it went down.